Hello and welcome back to the Yellow Couch. Today I have a fantastic guest with me who's going to talk to us about, or we're going to have a conversation about the construction industry in Tanzania and some of the successes and challenges and solutions that we can co-create here today. So without further ado, I want to welcome our guest. We have here Mr. Dhruv Jog, who is the Managing Director of Advent Construction Ltd, which is a Tanzanian construction firm based here doing phenomenal projects, which I hope we're going to hear more about in a moment. So welcome, Dhruv.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you very much.
Good to have you here. Thank you for making the time. I know you're incredibly busy. In fact,
Pleasure.
You've just flown in from somewhere.
Yes.
Meetings all over the country, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah?
Yes, indeed. Keeps us busy.
Excellent. Good to be busy. So can you just give us a little bit of background on Advent Construction? It's a family business, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So ownership still remains within the family.
Yeah.
Founded in 1994, primarily a civil and building construction company. But as of today, the management is all professional.
Okay.
So ownership still remains within the family, but the management is a team of very competent professionals, some of which you guys have helped us to identify. So thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you for entrusting us. Good. Hope it's going well.
100%. It is.
Good.
It is.
Excellent. So you've been managing director of Advent for how long now?
Officially appointed since 2016, but I joined the business in 2006.
Okay, so
I've
you've
been
been
here for a
there.
while.
You've been there. You've been through a journey or two.
Absolutely,
Yeah. And
yes.
how is the construction industry in Tanzania at the moment, from your perspective?
It's good. It's busy. Getting busier. There's more projects on the horizon.
Yeah.
Our country is doing some fantastic things. We're back open to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That's bringing a lot of foreign capital coming back into the country.
Fantastic.
So interesting times. Still in the preliminary stages of some new projects.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to a good few years.
That's really good to hear and very encouraging that things are picking up. And all the articles that I read and have read for the last few years talk about how our population is growing so dramatically.
Yes.
Our economy is growing. There is a real need for more and more and more and more construction.
Yes.
So are you finding the nature of your projects is shifting, or how is it, what are kind of the trends at the moment in terms of what
Absolutely.
kind of work you're doing?
So over the last few years, we've seen that there is a shift towards industrial construction.
Okay.
I think traditionally the whole world was so used to a very import-oriented economy, where most of Africa at least was heavily reliant on importing stuff.
Yeah.
And Tanzania has been working very hard to become self-reliant. There's also a good business case to be made here because we're 70 million people after
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So manufacturing is a big part of what we do.
Okay.
Civil works, those sorts of things.
Fantastic.
Building construction has always been a part of our portfolio, and it continues to remain that way. But you can see that there's new type of projects that are coming onto the market now.
Fantastic. So kind of end to end, being able to supply materials that are needed, but doing the construction as well.
Not so much of the supply of materials,
Okay.
but primarily EPC contracting.
Okay.
So design and build work, traditional EPC contracting, that sort of stuff.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me. So maybe if we can just talk about Advent a bit more, can you tell us like some examples of projects that you've done that maybe some people who are watching will know about or have seen
Sure.
and can appreciate and go, aha, that was Advent. I didn't know
so
that.
the one that I'm most proud of late is we did Tanzania's first rice mill down in Morogoro. We did that for Murza Wilmar, and that was a spectacular project because it's the first time such a project has been done in the country.
Nice.
Very complicated, greenfield, turned around within 14 months. Excellent project.
Yeah? Sounds like fun.
Yeah, and you know, it's always nice to be able to do something for the first time in the country. So
Yeah.
that was very nice. And then we did a very nice plant for Knopf Gypsum. So Knopf Gypsum awarded Advent for a design and build project.
Yeah.
They bought over an existing company and then wanted to do a brand new plant.
Yeah.
And we're really happy with the way that turned out. Knopf is one of the world's biggest, in fact, number 2 globally
Yes.
of gypsum manufacturing.
Yeah.
So they're really good at what they do, and the fact that they trusted Advent to build their pioneer production facility in Tanzania is something we are really grateful for.
Yes.
And really proud about.
Says a lot, doesn't it? And also I hear that that plant actually is for export outside of Tanzania as well.
Correct.
So it's kind of world-class standards.
100%.
Built
it
by
was-
Tanzanians.
Can you
Love it.
imagine?
Yeah.
And most people don't know that Advent is Tanzanian, but we are 100% Tanzanian owned.
Yeah.
Founded in Tanzania, headquarters still remain Tanzania. So we're really proud that, you know, the Germans are quite demanding with their standards.
Yes.
But they were happy with the work that we did, and we managed to build a plant that is fully compliant with European standards.
Yeah.
In Tanzania by Tanzanians. So
that's
we're really proud.
Phenomenal. You need to put that on a T-shirt somewhere. Good. Fun fact, by the way, you might not even know this, and I found this out randomly, but where I live, which I won't name, sorry, was built by Advent.
Was it?
Yeah, it's an apartment block, and I remember someone telling me that, and I was like, oh, cool, and I love it. I've been living there 5 years, so well done.
Thank you.
So let's talk about kind of the market a little bit more. Tell us about, you're a local construction firm operating here, and I'm aware there are also foreign construction firms that operate here, as in many other markets. Talk to us about that. Is there room for collaboration, and what kinds of projects, do you find, foreign firms are taking on versus local firms, and where might be some of the challenges and also some of the successes?
Yeah, I mean, Ella, it's a question that's extremely pertinent to our industry, and we've got two kinds of foreign contractors.
Yeah.
The first kind are the good kind.
Yeah.
And these are the guys who we're actually grateful for. Projects, for example, let's say Rufiji Hydropower, Salanda Bridge, similar projects where Tanzanian companies either don't have the experience or the projects are too large for us to take them on independently.
Yeah.
And in these cases, these foreign contractors are actually mentors for us, and we're very grateful to be able to learn from them.
Yes.
The challenge is the second kind of foreign contractor, who is more of a unfriendly competitor for local construction companies. I mean, you have foreign state-owned companies registering projects for 500 million shillings. Okay. And that sort of scale is something that takes away an incredible opportunity from local companies to grow. Yeah. And that's a problem that needs to be discussed in much more detail, and it's something that isn't being spoken about enough. Yeah. Because the competition, unfortunately, isn't fair and equal, and the balance needs to be achieved quickly. Yes.
I was going to say, I think it's about balance, isn't it? It seems like it's a bit off balance when, there are opportunities that are kind of not accessible to local contractors and kind of blow them out of the water, so to speak, in some cases, which means that there's an imbalance of, opportunities. And that goes all the way down the chain to, who's employed. So it's for Tanzanians in general, and as well as the contracting firms. So what is the solution then? Are there opportunities, do you feel, to find better ways to collaborate between foreign and local contractors, or how can we overcome this challenge?
So it needs to be a balance of two things. Now I'll give you a little bit more insight in terms of what the problem actually consists of, so we can come to some sort of a solution, right? Yeah. So you have foreign contractors generally from one country that are also generally owned by that country. I mean, these are state-owned companies. Yeah. And you have local construction company limited trying to compete with these guys, which is impossible. It's not a fair competition. If it was fair competition, it would be okay. No problem with that whatsoever. That's healthy. But in these cases, some of the technical examples I can give you, right? So, for example, subsidized cost of borrowing. Construction, as you know, is extremely capital intensive. The equipment is expensive. The resources are very expensive. These foreign contractors have access to subsidized financing from their home governments, and these are government-owned companies having access to government funds at subsidized rates of interest. They have subsidized costs of buying the machines. Yeah. So in this country, they have a policy wherein if you buy equipment from your province, you get subsidized pricing as long as it's for export, right? Because these are, being government-owned companies, their agenda is different to privately owned companies.
Got it, yeah.
Third example, guarantees, securities, right? In Tanzania, if a local construction company has to go and get performance bond or an advance bond, you have to follow the same collateral requirements as you do for a loan or an overdraft. Yeah. So now you have a situation where Company A, which is a foreign contractor, owned by the government of the world's largest economy, competing with local construction company A, who has to pay 18% interest on the first truck that he buys. He or she has to collateralize his mother's house to get a guarantee, basically, and to try and compete with a company that is owned by a state. Yeah, it's not fair competition.
It's completely just not balanced.
It's absolutely not possible. And by the way, generally when local company limited, takes a loan.
Yeah.
He goes and buys equipment that is manufactured in the country where his competitor comes from.
Wow. So again,
how do you compete?
Yeah.
It's impossible. So it's not fair competition, and it's something that absolutely has to be addressed.
Yes. So, wow. Okay, this is really insightful and really important for us to understand. So, just so that we can understand the picture a little bit broader, does that mean when, you know, a contract comes in or a tender comes in, you're expected to compete on an equal playing field to those examples you just gave as local companies?
Absolutely. And try and imagine a scenario where a class 2 or 3 local homegrown Tanzanian company is trying to compete with a state-owned international contractor who has the balance sheet of their global business behind them, and the weight and muscle of their country behind them. Yet the procurement regulations are such that lowest evaluated bidder will win, with absolutely no margin of preference being applied in most projects. In some projects they do apply them, but in most projects there's no margin of preference for locals.
Yeah. So in some senses, looking at this quite, you know, maybe quite crudely, is that there really isn't a support there for local homegrown contractors.
Absolutely
The
not.
situation does not support.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's unfortunate, but we remain one of the few countries globally where we don't have an active local content policy in place to protect local industries. And you know, just to mention, we had a conversation a few years ago with a very senior Mheshimiwa, who is now even more senior, and he said, well, we can't protect local industry because we're a free and equal market. But it's not free and equal when you're competing, when a local privately owned company is competing with a state-owned company. Right? So unless there's some boundaries put in place, which say that, okay, state-owned company, you're welcome to do construction in Tanzania for projects that your state is providing financing for, or something that we cannot do, or projects above a certain threshold, sure, no worries. But in private projects, the locals have to be taken care of. And I don't think there's any shame in our policymakers looking out for their fellow Tanzanians. I mean, if anything, it's their basic duty to make sure that local industry is nurtured. Right? And this has to be done.
Because it means more jobs, more business, better livelihoods for Tanzanians as well, and that the money is not just leaving the country as well.
Exactly. And then if you look at a scenario where we borrow funds, and you're seeing what's happening with our global rate of borrowing, right? So we borrow funds internationally. And if you look at our budget, one of the main areas where we spend money is on construction. So we borrow money and then expatriate a large chunk of those borrowed funds outside our country to the country of origin where these construction companies come from. So what we are left with is the actual constructed project that remains and the debt. And the interest that we need to service, right? So in the long run, I think it makes more sense for us to do exactly what you were saying, that to make sure that the funds remain within our ecosystem. And by doing that, it nurtures our economy, allows more Tanzanians to be employed, allows service providers to grow their businesses as well. And the funds stay here.
So the key solution there, just to summarize, would be to somehow ring fence or kind of protect a portion, maybe not all, but a portion of the projects that are out there for Tanzanian firms that can allow us to grow our economy and be more sustainable.
And we wouldn't be the first to do this. I mean, if anything, like I said, we're one of the last to do this. Every country in the world, in fact, even the country where most of these foreign contractors come from, if a Tanzanian contractor was to try and go and register a construction company there, you couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it because they're protecting their own as well.
So every country has this because every country realizes that construction and infrastructure development is a key area of expenditure. So those funds need to remain within the economic ecosystem. It's common sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I hope we could. I'm glad we're educating our audience on this. It's a really important thing for us to think about and to kind of lobby for as well. I hope you're doing the same.
We're trying.
Good. Keep up the fight. So going back to kind of your day-to-day, although this is definitely part of your day-to-day, is there any advice you could share with someone that is wanting to invest or work in the industry? I mean, that's already one, is watch out, there's some stiff competition, but how can you set yourself up to be successful in the industry?
So, look, by all means, construction at its heart should be an extremely lucrative business, especially in a country like ours. With 70 million people. We need housing, we need infrastructure, we need electricity, we need water, we need entertainment, we need education, etc., etc. Right? And we have a shortage of most of those things. So it should be a really lucrative business to get into.
Yeah.
Some of the challenges that you will face, so cost of capital will be a challenge because capital investment is quite high in the industry in general. Cash flow is a problem in construction. Nobody ever pays you on time.
Yeah.
Margins are very low. So these are some of the challenges that you will face.
Yeah.
However, if we are able to successfully do what we were just talking about, which is to eliminate some of the unfair competition from the industry, most of those challenges go away.
Right.
And then it becomes a level playing field where all the players in the market have similar challenges.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Yes.
So it's not difficult to compete. It's a level playing field. Then you can compete. So if we can somehow tackle this issue with the foreign contractors, I'm sure there is enough space in the construction industry in Tanzania for many more construction companies to come into play. Today, the challenge that they have is that they're not able to grow, they're not able to sustain themselves because of this unfair competition. But I'm sure if the policymakers are able to assist us by changing these parameters, then it's a really lucrative industry for Tanzanians to get into.
Yeah, and with those changes that you're talking about, if they were to happen, are you saying then that there is space for so many more players in the market?
Absolutely. I mean, look, even before our country starts going on this growth journey that we're on, even before that, there is so much space in the market for construction companies. That space is just currently being taken by somebody else, right? So if we can sort of ring fence and say, actually, we want the Tanzanians to grow. And at the end of the day, if we want to provide all of those services that we spoke of for our fellow Tanzanians, shouldn't Tanzanians be building it in the first place?
For us, by us, right? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think it's really an interesting conversation we're having because, you know, from an outsider looking into the industry, when you look around at Dar es Salaam, this mega city of ours that is growing, and you see buildings come up and you think, wow, or roads and bridges, and you go, wow, we're developing. Actually, when you scratch beneath the surface, in some or a lot of those cases, is it actually long-term development? Or is it something a little different? Or are we going to be in debt, as a major debt as a result of those things? And that affects the next generation.
100%.
I think we're not as informed on, these kinds of policies. So this has been really important and enlightening for me, certainly.
Excellent.
So thank you for sharing. So, Dhruv, I want to ask you some questions that are more about you now. I think we've delved deep into the industry, but I'd love to get to know the man behind the title. So we'll start with this one. What is the best piece of advice you have personally ever received, and who was it from?
So I don't recall who it's from.
Okay.
But this too shall pass.
Okay.
I think that is a line that has stuck with me and has actually resonated even more in the last few years. That whatever it is that one is going through at that time, it will pass. And so that resonates.
It sounds like from where you're sitting in your position, but also in the industry, you need that resilience.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a resilience mantra.
Okay,
so is it something that you consciously say to yourself?
Every day.
Really?
Every day.
Wow.
And the important thing to note here is that this too shall pass applies equally to good times as it does to bad, right?
True.
So it's important to keep that at the back of your mind.
That is it's grounding and humbling, isn't it?
It is.
Stay level, this will pass, whatever is good, whatever you're going through. Positive as well. Okay, nice. I shall take that wisdom with me. What would you say is the best decision you have made in your life so far? Of course, there's more decisions to be made.
Personal capacity?
Yeah.
Children.
Yeah?
Yeah. The grounding effect that it brings to one's life. By far the best decision I've ever made.
Wonderful. And how many kids do you have?
Two.
Two?
I've got two naughty boys.
Two boys.
Yeah, very naughty.
Nice.
Yeah.
How old are they?
6 and 3.
6 and 3. Oh, wow.
6 and 3.
So they're exploring and discovering the world.
Oh, yes.
Are they going to be joining the business as well? Are they interested?
Well,
Too
they may not, but the one thing that I'm extremely passionate about is making sure that a business is run by the people who are most suited to run it.
Yes.
We as Advent and at the other businesses that we're involved in, we don't allow you to automatically join the business because your last name happens to be that. So,
good.
So we'll see. If any of the kids, if they deserve it, they'll get it. If they don't, they'll find their own way in life.
Do they know what Dad does from day to day? Are they aware?
Yeah? Absolutely. Yeah, they come to the office with me once a week.
Oh, nice.
They come to sites. They're very involved.
Oh, good. That's good. Getting that business mindset already at that age.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's fast forward 20, 25 years from now. Where is Dhruv? What is he doing? Yeah. What's the goal?
Sitting on a beach somewhere in Zanzibar, I think.
It's not too far away. That's doable.
Right here, yeah. And it's a place that I love very dearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're gonna be somewhere in Zanzibar, with Advent being in at least 10 countries in the region. We're already in 4.
Oh, fantastic!
So yeah, 10 countries at the very least. Maybe listed on some stock exchange somewhere.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
where
really
I'd like to be.
inspiring. Can you tell us more about the 4 countries? So Tanzania, obviously.
Yeah, so Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Mozambique.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're already present in these markets,
Yeah.
and we're hoping to enter another market before the end of the year.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this, but like, how does it compare in the different markets? Is it very diverse and very different?
It is. It is very diverse. Mozambique, in particular, the language is a challenge.
Yeah.
Very different. Kenya, very competitive.
Yeah.
But a big market.
But
so
good
there's
business,
plenty to be done.
Okay.
Zambia, a developing market.
Yeah.
But a good place. Good for the future.
Yeah.
So seems to be doing well.
Okay.
And Tanzania obviously remains a headquarters. Always will remain headquarters,
Good.
regardless of where we.
Glad to hear it. Don't disappear.
Never.
We are needed.
Never.
Nice. Okay. So, unfortunately, we're running out of time, which I feel sad about because I think there's so much more we could talk about. But yeah, I wanted to just give you the opportunity to speak to our audience of viewers, to share any kind of final word of wisdom or nugget of wisdom that you could give them. You know, you've come on such an amazing journey, you're still on one, but what can you give back to the people that are watching and looking up to you and saying, I aspire to be there? What can we learn from you beyond what we've already learned? That's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
No, at the cost of not being very motivational, perhaps, but to help people stay grounded.
Yeah.
I would encourage people to stay humble and stay grateful.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the richest person in Tanzania is far from being the richest in the world.
Yeah.
So be grateful for what we have. Stay calm, but keep pushing really hard. Be grateful, and be humble. Stay humble. It's easy to look big in a small ecosystem.
Yes.
So one must be cautious that there is a bigger world out there.
Yeah.
So focus on the goals that really matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, stay humble, stay grateful, focus.
Amazing. Thank you for that advice. Humility, focus, and remembering the bigger picture as well. Thank you so much for your time, Dhruv. It's been amazing to talk to you. Please come back again.
Will do.
And keep us updated on your exciting project. I hope that we see some positive results with regards to some of the challenges that we're facing here. But I think we need to keep the conversation going. Hopefully, you've all enjoyed the conversation as well. Please comment, like, and share what you've seen today. Remember, if you haven't already, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at empowerlimited. And you can also find us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, at empowerlimited. So yeah, please keep sharing, commenting, and reflecting on what we've discussed. And do visit our website as well. I think you know where to find us, empower.co.tz. Thank you so much, and see you next time.